So welcome to today's webinar. We're talking about how to create an epic holiday social media campaign. Our experts are going to walk you through the steps of how to plan and execute a successful campaign. We'll show you examples of cool holiday social media campaigns from top brands in order to get your creative juices flowing. But most importantly, these are strategies that you can use to put together a social media campaign any time of year. But first off, we want to get an idea of your experience with social media campaigns. So there's going to be a poll that is popping up on your screen now. Take a moment to look at the options in the poll and tell us, how confident are you in running a social media campaign this holiday season? I'll give you a minute to look at the choices and choose the one that most closely represents you. Okay, great. So I'm going to close the poll, show you the results. This is great because it looks like most of you have not done a social media campaign before. So we're going to cover a lot of information today that's really going to help you. And I hope you get some great tips. Okay, so let me get back to our slides. Here we go. So first off, let me introduce myself, the voice that you've been listening to for a few minutes already. I'm Blair Williamson, the Content Marketing Manager for HostGator, and I'm going to be your moderator today. Presenting today and dropping the knowledge are our resident experts, HostGator's dynamic social media team, Emily and Jana. And we're so lucky to have them today to talk about the mechanics of building a great social media campaign. And of course, it wouldn't be a social media webinar if we weren't live tweeting. So share what you like or drop your comments using the hashtag HGWebinar on Twitter. And of course, we're following along with your questions in the chat window. So now I'm going to pass it over to Emily to get started.
Okay, thanks, Blair. So real quick, let's define a campaign. A campaign is a series of related actions or events that are organized to achieve a particular result. You may be most familiar with this term in relation to an election campaign. The campaign's goal is to get someone elected to office, and it usually has a certain theme or even a specific graphic design that ties it all together. And it's essentially the same with social media. Running a campaign means using a social media platform, such as Facebook or Instagram, to promote a series of posts, usually around a specific theme or topic, with a specific business goal in mind. So why should you consider running one this holiday season? Well, my favorite reason is simply that it gives you a plan for your content over a designated amount of time. As a marketer, it can be daunting to plan out your calendar, but with a campaign, it allows me to focus on a bigger theme and then create great content to support that theme. And it's so much easier to fill up my calendar when I have that plan of action. Another good reason to consider a social campaign is that it gives you more opportunities to connect with your customer when you're posting content consistently like that. Reminding someone to check back in and follow along gives someone a reason to join your page, and more touch points equals a stronger emotional connection. So today we're going to go over some basic steps in how to create an amazing holiday campaign. But like we said earlier, this is a process you can follow year-round, no matter where you want to run a social media campaign. In part one, we'll define your campaign by determining a campaign goal and concept. In part two, we'll talk about planning content for the campaign, from creating an editorial calendar to copy and graphic creation. Next, we'll talk about how to execute that plan without going completely crazy. From pre-promotion and scheduling in advance, we'll talk about some of our favorite tools that can help simplify the process. And then finally, we'll cover how to measure success against your goals. Data drives decisions, and we want to give you the tools to be able to evaluate your return on investment. Essentially, was all of this worth your time and energy? Today, we will focus on running an organic campaign, meaning no additional funding needed and no Facebook ads. Ads tend to be really competitive and kind of expensive around this time of year. So while we're going to touch on some ways you can effectively boost the content should you want to, the main focus will be how can you reach people through all of this amazing content you're creating with zero budget. I'm going to pass it off to Jana.
Okay. If you want to have an amazing holiday campaign, of course, the first step is going to be to define the campaign. Let's talk about how to identify your campaign goal, the length or amount of time you're going to run the campaign, the social platforms that you want to focus on, and then, of course, the theme that you want to pick. There's a lot of options on how to conduct your campaign, so it's really up to you and what's going to be best for your business. We do hope that today you get some creative juices flowing, and it's going to help you build a solid foundation to kick off the epic holiday social media campaign that you need. So let's talk about goal. The first thing you want to decide is, what is your campaign goal? What are you trying to accomplish? You do need a defined goal because that's going to help guide what you do through the next steps, the rest of the decisions you make around building out your social media holiday campaign. So there's no right or wrong answer here. It just depends on what you want to get out of the campaign after all. Here's 3 types of goals you might want to consider. Of course, there's new followers, brand awareness, and then CTR, which is click-through rate or conversions. Let's talk a minute about new followers. Getting more followers for your social media channels, it really is a great goal because it's going to help expand your future reach. You need people to follow you in order for them to see your messaging and your future marketing message that you put out there on social. This goal really makes a lot of sense if you're just getting started and then maybe you're looking to build your following. The next goal you might want to think about is brand awareness. Brand awareness is a super powerful goal for any social media campaign. The way to build brand awareness is by having more people talk about you, engage with your brand, engage with you on social media, and this will actually prompt the social media algorithms to show your post to even more people. So we're going to recommend this goal if you've been on social for a bit, but you really need a little boost to get more engagement and then ultimately begin to build an emotional and strong connection with your audience. Yeah, so now let's talk about CTR and conversions. Clicks and conversions are certainly a big one, and we know that a lot of people are going to be hyper-focused on this over the holidays. So in business speak, CTR, it means the click-through rate or the clicks that you get to your website. And conversions simply mean the number of clicks that actually convert into a sale or to a lead. If this is your goal, we're going to have some great tips later on for measuring success, how to use URL tracking and other things that are going to help you convert more users. So we're going to address that later in the presentation. I think I'm going to pass it over to Blair. We want to find some more information about what you guys are doing on social media.
Yeah, so now that Jana has covered these 3 types of goals, we want to know which one do you think you might use for your upcoming holiday campaign. So there's a poll that's launching on your screen. Take a minute and choose the option that you think you might try. Okay, great. So it looks like a lot of you have voted. So I'm going to go ahead and close that poll. It was pretty interesting to watch because the results were pretty split for a while. Looks like still between new followers and CTR are kind of our top choices. But this is great because we're going to cover each one of these in detail, and we'll give you some information on what you might want to be tracking if you're going to try each one of these. And of course, we know you may listen throughout the presentation and decide to try something different as you go along. So thanks for taking a minute to answer that poll. And let's go back to Jana.
Okay,
yeah, I see it.
Cover goals. So next. All right. Okay, so we did introduce goals. So it sounds like some of you guys have some ideas for what you might want to try, in fact. So we're going to jump in to talking about the platform or platforms that you should target. And you really don't have to select just one, but we do encourage you to narrow your focus so you can simplify the process and create a campaign tailored to that specific social media channel. You can also use the other platforms to promote the campaign, even if it's happening on another channel. When deciding on the platform you do want to focus on, consider which one is going to get you the most results. For instance, if your campaign goal is to increase engagement, where are you seeing the most potential? Are your current posts or competitor posts already getting a lot of comments and likes on Facebook, but not many on Twitter? Think about where your potential audience is most likely spending their time on social media, and then consider dialing your campaign into that platform. Remember, again, this is super relative just to your business and the results you want to get. And it can even vary across platforms. Just to share something with you, we ran a poll recently. We asked the same question on Facebook and Twitter, and the question was simply, which platform do you get the highest click-through rate from? Funny enough, people who responded on Facebook said Facebook. People who responded on Twitter said Twitter. So, I don't know if they're loyal to those channels, but it just goes to show you there's really no right platform. The channel you choose might get different results. It's just going to depend on which one works best for you. So, yeah, just make sure you tailor it to the platforms that you choose. So another big decision that you're going to have to make is how long do you want to run the campaign for? You can make the campaign, of course, as long or as short as you want, but choose a length that's going to be manageable for you and your schedule. You don't want to commit to 25 days of Christmas if you know that you're not going to have enough ideas to fill those 25 days or enough staff or resources to manage the pressure of a month-long campaign. That's going to be quite a while. So this slide, we take a look at some examples of campaign lengths where we actually use the holiday or event and combine it with maybe a trendy countdown. That can be a great way to dial into how many days you want this to last. Of course, there's 25 days of Christmas, Hanukkah, 8 crazy nights. You could start something in early November to do some kind of, countdown or kickstart to the holidays. So as you do start to think about campaign length, especially if it's going to tie to a holiday, you might find that the campaign just naturally forms like in the examples on this screen. But do keep in mind different holidays, traditions, and beliefs during this season, and maybe how your community might respond. In the first example, you could keep the length at 25 days, but make it more neutral, omitting the word Christmas to holidays. But of course, if you know your audience and they're going to appreciate the word of Christmas, then that's absolutely perfect. Lean on into that. You know your audience. You know what you're trying to accomplish. So just keep that in mind that when selecting your campaign title. One of the things we just want to go back to the 12 days of, that's just kind of one of the go-to things that we have. 12 days, it's a nice round number. Everybody's familiar with it over the holidays. You can be neutral, 12 days of deals, 12 days of giveaways, or you could go ahead and do the 12 days of Christmas. We love this campaign length. It's not too long. It probably won't be too overwhelming, but it gives you a great number to start from. Okay, so I've covered some things and some decisions you have to make in planning your campaign. And so now I'm going to kick it back to Emily, and we're going to take a look at what might be the most important thing for the success of your campaign. And that's deciding on the theme or offer that you want to base it around.
Great. So last but not least, let's choose a campaign theme in terms of what you're offering the consumer. Sometimes we are so focused on pushing our message out that we forget to consider what we're offering that would make someone actually want to follow us and our content. When you start changing your thinking about your social strategy in this way, you'll notice a big difference in engagement. You can offer your audience something physical like a giveaway, or you can create something that doesn't cost you inventory like a humor campaign, social for good, or a gift guide promotion. So let's dive into some of these options. I have some great examples for you on the following slides. Discounts are a great option for your holiday social media campaign because it's an easy win for anyone following along. You can use this to drive more sales of your popular items. If someone has been eyeing an item on your site for a while and waiting for the price to drop, now they might be super curious to check back into your social media as you're posting some of these coupons and follow along. So one way to do discounts would be to focus on eliminating excess inventory. There may be something that didn't sell as well as you expected. Discounting and special offers might help you move this off your shelves. The example on the screen is from a beauty blog that was specialized around Avon beauty items. They did a deal a day, which included percentages off, free add-on items, and free shipping. The type of campaign is a really good choice. This type of campaign is a really good choice if your campaign goal is click-through rate and conversions. If the offer is exciting enough, the daily promotion should help you get more people to your site, as well as your social media. So giveaways are my favorite holiday social campaign because there's so much return in terms of brand awareness that you can get with these. If you're doing a brand awareness campaign, your success metric will be reach. So keep that in mind, the kind of interactions you want to get in order to get the most reach. Facebook, for example, weighs shares and meaningful comments higher in the algorithm. While they don't define what meaningful comments means exactly, we can make some assumptions and use that to our advantage with a giveaway. So try asking your audience an interesting question as a means of entry. For this post, you could say, "Where would you ride this bike? Comment below to enter." Hopefully this promotes an interesting response that's more than just a one-word answer. The example on the screen is from a brand called Tea of a Kind. They did this cool social media giveaway campaign during the holidays. And the post on the left was the one they launched for pre-promotion, followed by one post a day with simple yet engaging graphics spotlighting each giveaway item, like this example on the right. These work because they tie the initiative together visually, are not overly complicated, and focus on the item being given away. The message is crystal clear, and so is the prize, which is great. This campaign type is a good choice no matter what your goal is. By asking users to comment on your post, you're getting that organic engagement, which is going to help build reach and brand awareness. By posting the product and amplifying the post through a giveaway type concept, you should also see an increase in click-through rate and conversion. Just make sure to add that trackable link in your copy or comment. And if your goal is to build followers, you can always encourage users to like your page as a means of entry. So let's talk briefly about tricky rules regarding giveaways that might kind of scare you away, but you really need to pay attention to some of these because running afoul of the rules can actually get your page disabled. You should check each platform rules and regulations to see what they require around giveaways, and make sure to check back often for updates. And I'm going to pass it off to Jana real fast.
Right, like Emily said, we don't want to encourage you to run away from the giveaway campaign. It's a great idea, but you do need to understand what you can and can't ask of your audience as a means of entry, and then what you might specifically need to state up front in your post or on the giveaway landing page. Okay, one example, a lot of brands on Facebook will say tag someone in order to enter. This is actually against the Facebook rules. Facebook also asks that you state that they are not a sponsor of a contest or a giveaway when you run it on their platform. This is going to be a consideration if you're, it's also a consideration if you're giving away a product that's not yours. For example, an Amazon gift card, you should probably state that your giveaway is not related or sponsored by Amazon. The rules are going to vary by channel, so I think we're going to drop some links in the chat to each of the main social channels and their giveaway rules pages so you can kind of take a look at those. And unfortunately, outside of the platform rules, there may be some general laws or some legal considerations. We're just going to touch on a couple. It's important to state any eligibility rules up front. If it's the residency restrictions, such as open to U.S. residents or age requirements, 18 and older can only enter. You also might need to state how long the giveaway entry period lasts, how your winners are going to be selected and notified. Don't be discouraged. Just do a little research and make sure that you've got everything above board when you run your campaign. There's another link we can share. It's a helpful link, and it kind of highlights some of these social media promotions and laws. We can drop that in the chat. If you are listening on the replay, you can go to socialmediaexaminer.com and just search for social media promotions and the law. You could probably Google that as well and just make sure that you've got everything lined up before you start your campaign. Okay, I'm going to jump away from the legal portion of the webinar and get back on track, and Emily's going to take a look at some additional campaign types.
Yes, thank you. Back to the fun stuff. So the holidays are stressful and sometimes wacky, but some companies have found that the best way to break through the competition during the holiday season is to do something unique. REI has capitalized on being different by approaching the holidays, and particularly Black Friday, with their message to #OptOutside. What's beautiful about this campaign is that REI not only shines through the clutter, they truly understand their audience. Their shoppers would far prefer being outside to lining up for Black Friday deals. So since you're the pro on your own audience, do you think they would enjoy a campaign that kind of gives them a holiday break? This could be a series of meditation videos to de-stress, a reminder to go outside, a holiday humor campaign, which I love. I think those are great, especially if you don't have more of a tangible product you're pushing, or just a collection of cute puppy content. So this campaign type is a great choice if your goal is to build brand awareness. Encourage users to interact by posting their own pictures, which will help build your engagement and your reach. A gift guide campaign also works really well to promote products without having to actually give anything away. So it's cheaper for you, and it's also really pretty easy to execute. This example comes from Flannery's, which is an Australian organic food market. They did a countdown to Christmas and showcased one item a day that's the perfect gift for the organic foodie in your life. They tied the campaign together visually with a simple stamp in the corner and product pics from their website. Another cool way to do a gift guide is to target a different type of gift getter each day and incorporate a collage of several items they might like. For example, day 1, gifts for the techie, day 2, gifts for the bookworm, etc., etc. So with gift guides, you could think about this from the perspective of how can I showcase products my audience would want for Christmas and want to in turn share with a family member, or who is my audience looking to buy gifts for? If you're not sure, you can always ask them. So you could do a question post or a poll in November gauging who your audience buys for and use that to help plan your content. Your social audience would love to be a part of what you're doing and give their opinions. So you might as well include them, and it's a pretty cool way of doing it. This concept is a really great idea if your goal is click-through rate and conversion, because you're spotlighting a product each day to encourage users to get excited about the content on your site. And once again, don't forget to post that product page link in the copy or comments below, and that we'll have some more tips on later as well. So the holidays aren't just about gifts and cookies, right? So they're about caring each other and coming together as a community. And a great idea for your social campaign could be to raise awareness for both your brand and a good cause by producing a social for good campaign. This example, Kraft and Walmart teamed up for a campaign to donate $1 for every social mention. They used the hashtag #WellWishes through the holiday season, and it reminded us to think about others. A couple ways you could run a social for good campaign is by matching donations, collecting cans or toys, encouraging social kindness, or promoting a Facebook donate button for a specific organization. And when I say encouraging social kindness, what comes to mind is Coke did a campaign called Refresh the Feed, which was all about promoting, being kind to each other online. This concept is a great idea if your goal is brand awareness. You're not necessarily pushing your own product, so I would not choose this if your goal is click-through rate and conversions. So those are all the examples we have. I hope this has helped with your brainstorming. Blair, do you have another poll for us?
Yeah, I actually do. And hopefully this worked because I changed it out on the fly. I know at the beginning, most of you responded saying that you have not done a social media campaign before. So I swapped this question around, and we want you to answer which type do you think you're going to try now that we've covered these 5 types. So take a minute, let us know which one you're most interested in trying this holiday season. Okay, looks like answers are still coming in, so I'm going to give you just a few more moments to choose which one that you're most interested in trying. Okay, so the answers are coming in. This is pretty interesting. It looks like most people are of course it's split, but discounts and gift guides or ideas are the most popular. I think we expected that to be discounts and giveaways. So this is really interesting results. All right, now I'm gonna pass it back on over to Jana.
Perfect. Okay, and we're back. That was easy. Okay, and it looks like we've about reached the halfway mark, and we've already covered a lot of information, and that was just the definition stage. But that's a super important stage, like we stated at the beginning. How you define your campaign and all of those decisions are going to help drive your actions and your steps going forward. So now we're going to dive right into planning. We'll start with content planning. You've picked a goal and a theme. Now you have to support that goal with content and posts for the entire length of the campaign. So we're going to cover some best practices regarding hashtags, graphics. We'll show you some of our favorite free content creation tools, plus how to schedule out that content in advance so you can avoid crunch time. So we're just going to jump in. Okay. Yeah, before you start posting away though, you're going to need a plan for your content. This plan is going to help you decide what you need to post each day of the campaign. It's going to help you line up the other things you need: inventory, imagery, links, that kind of thing. For example, you got a 7-day campaign. You're going to need to prepare something unique to post each day, or possibly several times a day. So we suggest that you create a content calendar. It's going to help you keep track of posts across all the social media platforms that you're using, plus the various assets that you're going to need, like the images and the links. Here's an example of how you could plan it out. Make the calendar as simple or as detailed as you need so that nothing is missed or nothing is left to chance. You begin off with a general outline like we show here, but before the campaign kicks off, we do suggest that you have the actual post copy finalized and decided. Your images are going to be created, and this is going to help you avoid scrambling, maybe on the day that your campaign begins. We're going to dig into hashtags very briefly. Hashtags are a super powerful way to add some cohesion to the campaign posts. There's lots of general hashtags you could certainly use, especially around this time of year. Hashtag happy holidays, hashtag giveaway. These are going to be great and possibly expose your post to a larger audience, but your campaign could also get lost in the noise of these popular terms. So, you have to decide if it makes sense to create one just for your brand or campaign. Doing this is going to allow users to follow along with the conversation. It gives them a way to communicate with you about the campaign. And especially if you're asking for feedback or asking people to share their pictures, they can do that using that hashtag so that all of those posts can be seen together. For just another example, we picked HG Webinar for our webinar posts. We do it, we're going to use it. We encourage people to use it when they're giving us feedback and asking questions on social media. This helps us and the participants follow along. As a bonus, we hope that people that are following your accounts might see that hashtag, find something interesting. Maybe they'll click it and read the conversation. They'll learn something, and maybe they'll follow us. But do the research before you decide on one. Like a domain name, it's got to be easy to remember and easy to spell. Just like a domain name too, you got to check what it looks like when the words are huddled together. Does it really say what you think it says? So if you've got an idea, be sure to search it across the channels you're going to use to make sure that it is unique enough. One of the conundrums we ran into is we would love to have a term that we use to refer to our fans here at HostGator. One hashtag that people keep bringing up is Gator Nation. Sounds great, but the University of Florida has pretty much taken that over between the university use, the students, and their supporters using it. It's used a lot, almost daily, multiple times a day. So any message we have is just going to get lost, in the shuffle there. So do be careful, that there's not too much competition for the hashtag, especially when you want people to use it to enter, responding to a contest. So make it unique enough. Moving on to post copy. What are you going to say in each post that's going to support your goal? When it does come down to writing the actual posts, make sure your brand voice really shines through. You don't know what your brand voice is. It's important to take some time and define that and make some rules around it. A strong brand voice will help you in so many areas of your marketing. You'll want to define, are you fun? Are you serious? Are you quirky, smart? How do you want users to see you? The kind of products you offer and your target audience are going to play a big part in deciding what your brand voice might be. You're going to need a strong call to action in your post. In other words, what do you want someone to do? Or what action do you want them to take? For a campaign like this, we want you to make it really clear, be specific, like click below to donate, comment below to enter, share a pic using the hashtag #followa or whatever your unique hashtag is be, that kind of thing. Just to make sure that your call to action is super simple and that it's clear what the users need to do. You can't say, tell us about a time. You do have to be specific and say, tell us about a time in the comments below. There you go. Should be crystal clear what they need to do. And that's what planning will get you. To drive home this message, again, we got another example. A lot of, contests, you might see Facebook contests where people are like, comment below, tell us your favorite cake flavor. And you have to like our page. And you have to like these other 2 pages. And you have to tag your friends. And one of them has to be your aunt. That's not really okay. That's too much to ask. 1 or 2 things is fine, but don't ask for too many things. And then, proofread. That goes without saying, I hope. We'd suggest showing your posts to 2 people, and you want to proofread your post copy and your image copy. Another option is to download the Grammarly extension. That's for Firefox or Chrome. It's a lifesaver for copywriters. It's going to proofread anything you write in the browser and show you your mistakes, and it's going to look at social media posts as well. And lastly, we kind of touched on this, but use inclusive phrasing. Be sensitive this time of year, whether you want to use Christmas or holiday, just what feels right for your brand, what's your audience going to respond to, that kind of thing. You know what we mean. So great copy is important, but social images, you know, that's really can be the showstopper to get your campaign success. So I'm going to turn it back over to Emily. And we're going to talk about the importance of using graphics in your campaigns.
Great, thanks, Jana. You know, I'm realizing one thing we forgot to mention in post copy is don't write a huge paragraph would be my advice. Keep it a lot shorter, because people don't like to read online, and they will just scroll past something that has too much information. Something we do sometimes is move some of the information to the first comment. It still lives with the post, but it's not overcomplicating your message. So let's move on to social graphics. There's one thing all social media managers kind of stay up late at night worrying about, and that's how am I possibly going to get enough photos, graphics, and video to keep my page going? One option is to utilize photos already on your website. But if you can, try to take a slightly less polished photo for social. The stunning product pic with that white background might work on your site, but it's not going to feel super personal on social media. So try taking a photo with your phone that has more of a real world background and feel instead. For example, if you sell coffee mugs, try sitting one on a wood table with a blurred out fireplace in the background, holiday themed. That just makes it feel a little more in the real world, and a little more personal. We recommend doing colorful backgrounds that have enough interest but don't take away from the product focus. If you don't have enough time or energy to create new photos, simply downloading that website photo will still be okay, absolutely. And we're going to share with you some ways to add text and other elements to that image to still make it stand out. So there are so many great tools on the market that are going to make your job easier here with graphic creation. And these are our 3 favorite social graphic sites: Canva, Adobe Spark, and PicMonkey. These tools are great because they help with some of the graphic design work. You can start with a template, add in your own images, change the colors and the fonts, and even utilize a free stock photo library. Each of these tools has a free version and a paid version that has more features. So for example, you might need to get the paid version if you want to upload your custom brand colors or your logo or your font, or even have access to more editing tools sometimes. But first on the list is Canva, and Canva is really great because they have all the elements we mentioned above and really just a plethora of templates to choose from. You can even search things like Facebook templates, sale graphics, Christmas, whatever, a combo of the 3, and get some options for the type of campaign you're specifically looking to run. Adobe Spark is very similar to Canva and also offers a lot of really cool templates and fonts to choose from. It's so easy to make something that looks professional using these tools. And PicMonkey is unique because you can make these kind of stunning photo collages in this tool. They also have some free clip art like birthday hats or adding the look of snow that you can overlay on your photo. So we recommend checking that one out as well. At HostGator, we typically use these tools combined with Photoshop for some custom editing. A robust tool like Photoshop will give you a lot more control, but if you don't have the budget to purchase Photoshop or the means to, learn it, each one of these tools can stand alone. And we also have tweeted out these tools with #HGWebinar on our Twitter if you want to check back in on them later if you don't remember where they are. So I'm going to pass it off to Jana to just kind of show you really quickly what Canva looks like.
Right, so we're going to show a video where we kind of create an image on the fly here. This is a free tool, so go ahead and sign yourself up, give it a try. See how quick it can be. Well, check it out. Once you identify maybe the social media post you want, it's going to automatically size the image correctly. You can search the available templates. Here we're going to look for something that's holiday themed for our Christmas campaign. So once you find a design you like, of course, you get to customize it. Change the colors to your brand colors, super easy. You can swap out the images. Like Emily said, they have a free library. You can use their images. You can add your own here. You just drag and drop from your desktop straight to the Canva dashboard and onto your template. And then, of course, you have the option to make any other changes you want, write over the copy, change your fonts. You know, even if you were started from a template, you can customize anything you want. You can move things around, make things different sizes, change your background colors. You know, it's super easy just to make a unique and branded design that's going to work for your campaign. So we're changing the fonts here, and I think that's it. So we're just going to move on. Like I said, try it, check out some of the other ones. They're super easy to use.
Yeah, it's a really great tool now that they have those. So let's talk image sizes. Each platform is a little different based on which size you should use. And this is part of why we recommend focusing on one social platform for your first campaign. On the screen, you'll see our recommended sizes and aspect ratios for each platform. And these are in pixels. So 1080 by 1080 is pixels. We recommend using square photos or on Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook, images don't always have to be exactly square, of course, but square is better than horizontal or rectangle graphics. And I'll show you why I feel that way on the next slide. On Twitter, the official image size, if you Google it, is 1024 by 512 or a 2:1 ratio. Twitter recommends this size, and even Canva creates all of their Twitter templates in this size, but we found that it actually gets cut off a bit on mobile. So we're recommending 1920 by 1080 instead of a 16, which is a 16 by 9 ratio instead of that. And I'll also show you an example of why we're saying that next. For Instagram stories, you should use 1080 by 1920. You can upload something shorter and leave space at the top and bottom, but it just doesn't really look that great. So when you're taking photos or shooting videos, keep the specific size in mind because you might need to shoot differently to accommodate. So before you publish any images, we recommend you test on desktop and mobile. An image that looks great on desktop might not translate well on a smaller mobile screen. As someone quickly scrolls through the feed, your image should catch their attention and make them stop. So here on the left are two different image sizes on the Facebook feed when viewed in mobile. Notice how much more space the square image takes up versus the horizontal or rectangle image. And this is important because so many people look on mobile these days and not on desktop. And this is free real estate that you're basically not using if you choose to make your image smaller. So definitely recommend at least a 1:1 image ratio. You can also go a little taller if you want, which will take up even a little more space, which is great. So here on the right is an example of the image sizes on Twitter mobile and why we suggest using 1920 by 1080 instead of that 1024 by 512. You see here that the supposed recommended size actually gets cut off, which is not ideal. So a good way to do this is to test all of these things. It's great to create a fake test account on both platforms. Publish your content on the test account first, and then look at it on the mobile device. Is it getting cut off? Can you make out the image? Can you read the text? Now that we've tested our holiday graphics on Twitter on the right here, you can see that the colors pop in the timeline, which is amazing, but that text is super hard to read above and below Happy Holidays. And so we probably need to take that into consideration and change out this image a little bit. So now we'd like to give you some tips for adding text to your image. We always hear Facebook saying not to add too much copy to the graphics. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but it's true you have to consider the text ratio if you plan to use the image as an ad or to boost the post. But in general, text can help your post stand out. It can help tell a story. And in the case of your holiday initiative, it can help tie the campaign together visually. There are 3 types of text you could consider adding to the photo for your holiday social campaign. The first is you could add the campaign name at the top, like in this real example, Santa Sadie's Christmas giveaway. Second, you could add a hashtag overlay in the bottom corner, like hashtag 12 days of Snappy. This option is especially great if you're pushing for involvement through a hashtag. And our final tip is to add numbering. It could be day 1, day 2, or a countdown like 23 days to Christmas, 22 days to Christmas, or steps to accomplishing something, and you're showing one part each day. This is the perfect amount of text that helps tell a story of what's going on in 5 seconds or less, and will hopefully draw people back to your page to view more, especially if they come in and see this in their timeline day 11. they'll immediately register for them that there's probably a day 1 through 10 as well that they could go check out if they go to your social page. So for best practices, make sure the text is eye-catching and easy to read on mobile. Also keep the message simple. Like with everything that we've been saying today, simple is great. Some text is good, too much copy, not so good. Remember how quickly people are scrolling through social media. You have a really limited amount of time to capture their attention, and lots of text just gets in the way. So use the tools we mentioned earlier, such as Canva, and they're really going to help you easily add some of this text to your graphic. So now that you've planned out all of the elements of your campaign, it's time to put it all to work. Let's talk about how to manage a campaign and keep your sanity at the same time. We'll cover how to promote your campaign before you launch it, how to schedule your posts so you're not stuck at the computer all week, and if you choose to boost, we'll talk about how to do that a little bit as well. Pre-promotion refers to promoting your campaign before it starts. The main goal of pre-promotion is to build interest and buzz so your followers will be intrigued and encouraged to come back to your social media to see the real deal. But of course, you should do this carefully. Don't overdo it. The truth is, a lot of people won't care until your campaign actually starts. So a post or two is a great tease, but doing an entire week-long lead up to the actual campaign will probably not get a lot of interaction. Depending on your campaign, a Facebook event could be a really great means of pre-promotion. And the reason we really like Facebook events to support the campaign is that a user will get direct notifications for an event, especially if they RSVP. It's far more likely actually that they get notified versus just a post to your wall. So it's something you could really consider. And it doesn't have to be a real life event. It can definitely be virtual, like one of these holiday campaigns. Do consider also promoting more on Twitter. Twitter has much better discoverability than Facebook and is far more forgiving for posting multiple times about the same thing. Just remember, don't spam people. Once again, don't overdo it. But you could also consider promoting on Instagram and Facebook stories, even if that's not your main platform focus. It's a really great sidekick for promotion because once again, unlike just showing up in your feed where it has to fight an algorithm, it's automatically going to be at the top of people's, like Instagram or Facebook, and they're far more likely to see it. So it's a great means of promotion. Now scheduling. Scheduling is the social media manager's best friend. Once you've planned all of your posts, you can schedule them in advance to publish on a certain day and time. Then all you have to do is sit back and monitor the comments and questions as they come in. Scheduling the content will make your campaign less stressful, but there's a few other things you can do to help manage the process, like have at least one person review and proofread your posts. Have this person check for grammatical errors in both your graphic and post copy. It's easy to make mistakes, and it can be a pain to take down a post after the fact and lose all of that great momentum. And also, you should monitor posts as they go live. Something is always bound to go wrong, so double check and read the comments before anything gets out of control. And I mean, this could be, a copy error, but also in the past, I've had issues with Facebook making something go live without an image, and it's just a bug. So make sure you are watching as things do go live. So when you're thinking about scheduling, here are some of our favorite free scheduling platforms. The first is the social platforms themselves. Okay, you can't schedule on Instagram yet, but did you know you can actually schedule on Twitter? If you go to studio.twitter.com on the browser where you're logged into your account, there's a place where you can upload media for a new tweet you're going to post, write the copy, and then you'll get an option to schedule or post now, which is really, really actually cool. I don't think a lot of people know about that. Hootsuite is another really awesome free scheduling tool. You can auto post only 30 images per month on the free version, but the perk here is that Hootsuite does include scheduling to Instagram, which is a huge bonus. The third is TweetDeck, and TweetDeck is just a great tool for all things Twitter, scheduling and social listening, following streams. So make sure you check that out as well. So do you have a free scheduling platform that we didn't mention here? We're really curious to know if you do. If you have a favorite, please tweet at us with #HGWebinar because we would love to know about what you guys are using.
Okay, so I'm just going to run. I know we're running low on time here, so I'm going to go real quick over boosting. We did want to touch on this because we said we were going to focus organic, but boosting is an option. If you've got a Facebook business page, it's going to be there for every post. If something's getting a lot of momentum, you might want to put a few dollars behind it, and you really don't have to put much money at all. If you tell it you want to boost the post, it's going to ask you who you want to target. Selecting your current followers is great. You could also target other people based on, demographics, geography, interests, that kind of thing. Tell it how long you want it to run, and then the budget. Like I said, you can start with $20. If it's really killing it, add a few more dollars to keep the momentum going there. So I'm just going to move on so that we can get through some of this other great information regarding measuring your campaign. So this is the final chapter, and of course, if the campaign's run its course, you want to determine how your efforts performed. We'll go back to part 1 where we talked about, the campaign goal. Once you've decided the goal, you're going to want to measure against that goal and figure out what worked, what you want to repeat, what you might need to adjust in future campaigns. So one of the goals we talked about was a follower campaign. If your goal is new followers, this is certainly an easy goal to measure. Before you start, determine your growth baseline for the specific time frame. What we mean by growth baseline is what is your normal rate of follower growth? How many do you get in a time period? Is it for a month or a week or whatever it may be? When you start your campaign, hopefully you've set a goal. It could be percentage of growth or a hard number. For example, if you get 100 new Twitter followers, maybe your goal is to double this and do 200 new followers for the month of your campaign. If you met the goal, that's awesome, congratulations, but what did it cost you? No matter what your goal is, you're going to want to determine ROI. In this example, it's how much should each follower cost.
And ROI, we mean return on investment.
Right. So keep in mind, you don't have to give something away to figure out ROI. If you were, though, if you had a $100 gift card and maybe you got 50 new followers for your campaign, that's $2 per follower. But you can figure out something beside the giveaway. It can be the amount of money you put behind social ads if you did any, money you spent on image creation, maybe discounts or freebies, or even your time in planning the campaign, because that's actually money. So don't forget, these are important. The campaign is great, but you do want to figure out what it actually cost you. Brand awareness. You can measure brand awareness in a few different ways. Typically, this is going to be measured by engagement that happens on your social posts. If you do choose to measure engagement, you're going to track how many likes, comments, and shares you got on your campaign posts, and then how that compares to your baseline, what it would be your normal growth or rate of engagement. If you asked a question, did people respond? Did they respond to your holiday posts more than they responded to regular posts? We do want to call out shares because that's kind of like social media gold. When people share your posts, your content is likely going to get seen by their friends who might not already know about your brand or your social media page. So those views are going to be known as reach, and the more people that your posts are exposed to, the more sets of eyes on your posts, that means you're going to get more reach. So you're going to want to compare the reach of your campaign posts to your average, weekly post or daily post reach. So again, if you're really into numbers, you're going to track your cost per engagement, meaning how much money did you spend on the campaign versus how many engagements you received as a result. So the formula is the same. Spend $100 on a campaign, you got 50 engagements, just likes, comments, shares, then that's $2 an engagement. It could be a little more complicated, again, depending on your total costs. So determining the ROI is a great way to figure out what you spent on the campaign, and then as you do more campaigns, hopefully that ROI gets smaller and smaller, meaning you're doing a better job of campaigning over time. So we're going to talk now about measuring success for click-through rates and conversions.
Great. So finally, you can track campaign success by volume of clicks to your website or conversions. Let's start with the more simple one to track. You can measure click-through rate by reviewing overall traffic from your campaign to your website. On both Facebook and Twitter, you can see how many people clicked on your link from each post in the Insights section. You could also pair it with more detailed data from an analytics tool like Google Analytics. Next is conversions. We typically think about conversions as sales, but a conversion could be any action you want the viewer to take. So think about, it could also be filling out a contact or subscription form if lead gen is your goal, or downloading an ebook if awareness or thought leadership is your goal. If your goal is a conversion, include a call to action on your social images and be clear about what you want them to do. We've kind of talked about call to actions quite a bit today, but having that plus a killer landing page will really be the key to success here. Once they get to the landing page, the page on your website that has the product or the form for them to fill out, make sure that page is simple and focused on completing the action without a lot of other messages and distractions. If you use Google Analytics or a different web analytics tool, you can set up your specific conversion goals and track. With Google Analytics, when you define a new goal, you can indicate what success looks like, such as completing an order or filling out a form. And our final tip, if you want, you could get very specific with tracking how your posts are performing by creating a specific tracking URL in Google URL Builder. What that means is kind of adding some phrasing at the end of your link that tells you exactly where it's coming from. So you can see here how many clicks we got from my one Facebook post versus my other Facebook post or my Twitter post, if that makes sense. Google URL Builder will allow you to tag a link by channel or medium, and you can even create tags for your specific campaign. So these tags will help you track which social post it came from, like I just mentioned. And we're going to drop a link for the URL Builder into the chat. It's an easy to use form to help you create your unique campaign tracking. And that's it. So let's recap the steps we went over to create a social media holiday campaign. First, we encourage you to define the campaign and determine your goal. This will help set up the rest of the campaign, and it's a really important first step. Second, we recommend choosing a campaign type that supports the goal you chose to focus on. Next, make sure you write copy that's easy to digest and has a clear call to action that tells your audience exactly what you want them to do. Fourth, optimize your graphics for each platform and device. Create those test accounts that we mentioned and check it out on mobile, absolutely. Fifth, schedule ahead for a stress-free campaign. And finally, dig into your data and determine if your time and energy actually paid off. So this has just been a ton of info. Thank you so much for hanging in there with us, and I'm going to pass it off to Blair.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so we covered a ton of stuff, I know. And because we had some glitches at the beginning, we're up against the time clock, but we do have some questions that came in through the chat and on Twitter that I wanted to be able to go over because I think this would be helpful for our listeners. Okay, so first, how important is the time of day to post?
Yeah, I mean, I think time of day can be really important. For example, Friday afternoons on many of the brands I've worked on are just traditionally terrible. People are out, they're tired from the work week, they're out doing things, so it's never a good time to post. So there are some general things like that to consider. Also, where your audience is. If you have a local business and it's all Central Time, that's great. You know, focus on when people are active in that time zone. But if you have your audiences nationwide or even beyond that, international, really take that into consideration. On Facebook, you can tell there is a place in the insights you can go to see when people are interacting with your page. And so you can kind of use that. Usually it's super vague. I mean, it's not very helpful. It also kind of depends on if you had like a killer post in a certain time slot, it's gonna, you know, change that a little bit. And I think that like if you have, you know, moms are online at a different time of day, especially stay-at-home moms than someone who is working. So know your audience. Maybe ask a couple of your friends who are that demographic when they're most likely checking their social media.
Okay, great. So we had another question about when it comes to planning out the content for your campaign, Is there like an ideal number of touch points that you should consider? Or like, should you vary the type of posts that you have? How would you make a decision on like, is it too many posts, for example? So kind of to wrap up, like number of posts that might be appropriate if that varies per platform, or just should you think about that for your campaign as a whole?
This is Jan. I think it does vary by platform. I think people are a little more forgiving on the Twitter feed because it is kind of real time, and they're going to go away if you're just looking at your home screen. So definitely posting a little more on Twitter is probably a good idea. Facebook and other channels, again, depending on your business and your audience, more than once a day might start to get annoying. Twice a day during campaign might be good, just so that you do have that extra touch point. As far as the variety of posts, actually that's probably a pretty good suggestion. Maybe you mix it up, unless you really dial into that theme or that goal, and every post is kind of driving home the same message. But trying a variety of posts, especially if this is one of your first campaigns, that kind of lets you know, what does your audience engage with? Is it the copy, the image with a lot of copy on it, or is it the image that's got the real picture? Is it images of people versus some kind of graphical image? Those are really important things that you can test out. And over time, maybe analytics will help you dial into what kind of messaging and what kind of imagery your audience responds to.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, you can use split test, which we chose not to get too in the weeds on, but on Facebook, I love them because they help you. Like, you could have one image that has a little more copy on it and one that doesn't, and in real time Facebook sends it out to two like audiences and tells you which one worked better. But you can also do the same thing, like Jana said, by just posting one a couple times, posting the other a couple times, and then picking the winner. Another thing that you mentioned was how often to post, how frequently to keep it going. And it's hard when you lock yourself into a number like 12 days of Christmas or what have you, but I find the best approach is to listen. If you're 5 days in and no one cares, if you haven't locked yourself into a number, maybe it's, or maybe not no one cares, but it's weaning, out, like maybe that was a good time period and it's a good time to end it. Always keep listening to your audience. They'll tell you what they like, what they don't like, just by engaging or not. So, maneuver as needed.
Okay, great. Okay, so Monica had a really interesting question. She asks, have you seen a campaign benefit from additional blog posts or having a related blog post, something that's related to the campaign? Have you seen if that maybe increases interest or visits, or have you tried that?
Yeah, I don't know about Jan.
I like it. I like it. I'm a big content person, and I think that can add interest because it does give you something else to say. If you've got a 7-day campaign or a 12-day campaign, again, unless it's like, here's a giveaway. But especially if you're doing a social for good, if you're doing a relaxation, having that content to point to, let's give people more information than they're going to get from your social post. And vice versa. From that blog, you can promote what's happening on your social media channels. And if you do have an audience reading your blog, get them over to engage with you on social. So I think from that regard, if it works for the campaign you're doing, I think that is a tremendous idea. And I always love the idea of more content is never a bad thing. So having a blog to point to and talk about is going to help your social.
I also kind of like the idea of doing rolling it out on your blog as you post it on social, so that there is a landing page to go see what happened previously, or just as a wrap up of the entire campaign and what you posted.
Right. That's a great point.
I think people could even find it after the fact and be looking to you next year to see what you're going to do.
Yeah, those are some great tips. Okay, so we had a question on Twitter, and someone asked, how do I determine good hashtags that are popular for with my industry? So this kind of goes back to where you were talking about creating hashtags specifically for your campaign, versus tagging on to a popular or trending hashtag. So how does somebody find one that might be popular with their industry?
This is so funny. This came up yesterday, actually, in our office. And there are some tools, and I'll find one and I'll tweet it for you. But there are some tools where you can enter a term and they will spin up like 30 other similar hashtags that you could be using. Another thing that came up yesterday was someone in the office was asking me about equality for women campaign and what other hashtags would be good to use. And so I took the example they had, pulled it up on Instagram, and looked at what some of the top influencers were also hashtagging. And that gave us the best ideas, honestly, for what else to go after.
No, I love that. Instagram, because everybody uses a ton on Instagram. So yeah, look for the hashtag you're thinking of or that you think your audience is going to resonate with, and see what other people are using. Competitive intelligence. We're big on seeing what competitors are doing and following along there.
Cool. So I think that's the kind of the end of our question time. I want to just kind of give you as a reminder, we are going to be sending out a recording of the webinar today. You'll get an automated email from GoToWebinar with the recording, and then probably at the beginning of next week, we'll send you another email specifically with the recording, and it sounds like y'all want to see a copy of the slides as well. So we'll include a copy of the slides and some other kind of helpful follow-up information. After this webinar, you are going to be receiving in that email from GoToWebinar, there's a post-event survey, and we'd like you to take the time to answer it. It's only 2 questions, so it should be pretty easy to do, but we just want to know kind of, what you thought of this content and what information you might want to learn about in a future webinar. There is a link on the screen for the spot on our blog where we kind of house all of our webinars. So you can keep an eye on that page as well. Just as a teaser, we're thinking about doing a webinar on building your first WordPress website. So if that's something you'd be interested in, then just keep an eye on our feed there as well. We just as a kind of final note, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Emily and Jana, for sharing your expertise and being here with us today.
It was a lot of fun. I want to thank everyone for hanging in there, and we hope that you learned something. And yeah, we want to hear from you on Twitter if you've got some follow-up comments or questions for us. We'd love to keep the conversation going over there.
Great. Thank you so much.
A lot.